You want to get paid like the top 1%, but you feel like you don't have any skills that necessarily put you at the top 1% for any skill set. So how do you become like Scott Adams, the author and illustrator of Dilbert comic strips, and get paid like the top 1% and be in the financial top 1% without actually being the best at any particular skill set? There are so many things I can't control, but the things that I can. The Dick Polipnick Show. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about the Scott Adams principle, also known as the Dilbert principle, and how the author of Dilbert comic strips, Scott Adams, used several skills that he was just average at and combined them to be an amazing, gifted comic book artist and be one of the highest paid people in the world. Scott Adams developed the Dilbert comic strips and developed the Scott Adams principle, also known as the Dilbert principle, using himself as a case study. So Scott Adams wrote down the top skill sets of what he was good at, and he looked at comedy, artistry, and writing. So he's ranked himself as step 2, and he said, I'm 80 percentile as far as skill set goes, so I'm better than 8 out of 10 people at all of those things. So 8 out of 10 people I'm better at writing, artistry, and comedy. So he said, okay, those are all industries where I need to be in the top 1% of performers to actually excel. I need to be a top 1% comedian in order to be, paid to go on stage and do stand-up comedy, to be in movies, to be on Saturday Night Live. That's the 1% of 1%. That's even probably the hardest of the 3 to achieve. Artists, he doesn't want to be a starving artist, right? He doesn't want to be living in a studio apartment with a couple of roommates and, they're all trying to get art out into the world. He didn't want to live that lifestyle either. With writing, there was a little bit more possibilities, a little bit more options for him, to go work at a company, be a copywriter, go to an agency like Online Growth Systems and be a writer for them. But he wanted to be a top 1%. He wanted to have the income and the lifestyle of the top 1%. And of course, he later did become top 1% writer exclusively for writing, and just like these other authors, but it's very few people who can write a book and have a bestseller. That also is the 1%. So he said, well, crap, this sucks because I am the 80th percentile of all 3 things that I'm really good at. Those are all industries that I have to be a top 1% performer. It's just like football. Everybody wants to be an NFL player or an NBA player, an NHL player, but you need to be not just the best on your high school team, the best in your district, the best in your state. Like, you need to be a top 1% individual and performer in that particular sport to go pro, right? So the likelihood is very minuscule. It's very teeny tiny, right? So how can you, just like Scott Adams, take those things that you're on the 80th percentile and find a career path where you can be in the top 1% of that career? So Scott Adams looked at this chart and he said, okay, what jobs have comedy, art, and writing combined? He came up with comic strips. Now, if you grew up in my time or before, so if you're my age or older, you grew up, you got a newspaper on the weekend every Sunday delivered to your house, and you flip back to the back few pages after you watch Saturday morning cartoons, you'd have your Sunday paper, right? And you'd look at the back 2 pages and you'd see comic strips. Dilbert comic strips, which was by Scott Adams, he was the artist, the writer, and of course with writing he had to come up with the comedy, right? That's infused into the art and the writing. So he had a newspaper column or a newspaper comic strip in every newspaper, in almost every newspaper in every town, every home, every town, every state, many countries, written and translated into multiple languages across the world. And he did that for decades. Now you understand how Scott Adams financially is in the 1%, is because he took 3 skill sets where he was ranked 8 out of 10 on the average scale compared to everybody else. And he said, you know what? I might be in the 80th percentile, but there's nobody better than me who's funny and can draw art. And there's definitely nobody who can touch me who can be funny, be good, a semi-decent artist, and write. And he said, nobody can touch me. Not only am I in top 1%, he thinks that I am one of the best in the world. So he's one of the best alive today. And that's how Scott Adams applied his own principle, the Dilbert principle, the Scott Adams principle, by taking 3 skill sets, combining them, identifying what career paths fit that description of a fusion of all 3 of those, and then you pursue that career path with all your might, because that is how you are gonna get to be a performer in the top 1% of that industry and get paid like one. Some good next steps for you is do exactly what Scott Adams did. Write down your top 10 skill sets, rank yourself from 1% to 100%. So you could say, oh, well, I'm probably in the 78th percentile for this particular skill. Do that for all 10 of those skills. And then I want you to take your top 3, sometimes your top 2, and you combine them and you say, which career paths have these 2 skill sets combined where I can be top 1% performer where there's the combination of those 2 skills. So that's the exercise that you can do. In fact, we're going to include a link down below in the description of this YouTube video where we already have a template for you, and it's going to give you a little math template that you can fill out on a spreadsheet, and it's free download. We'll deliver it straight to your inbox. Feel free to click that form and we'll send it right to you. And that's just a part of being a part of our community, and thanks for being an online growther. So thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.
Hey growers, this is Dick here, using a really cool animated voiceover. And if you would like to get a $1 million car, plus a chance to win a brand new Lambo, please subscribe to the Dick Polipnick Show on YouTube.